Will the Wise and Lucas the Sharpshooter are two upcoming partner commanders that are showcasing some promise. Now, we only have 20 tournament entries, which means that the sample size is a little bit too small. So we're not gonna go into statistics here. This is just gonna be a video that is showcasing this commander pair, what they're up to, teaching you how to play against them, but also teaching you a little bit about how people have been building it so far. So first of all, it's a similar color combination to Tymna Kraum, Sans Green, that is sitting on 561 tournament entries and an average win rate of 26.03 currently. So they are already off to a good start. But they are quite different to Tymna and Kraum. Link in the description below of this video to this web page where you can scroll around and look at different tournament decks that have entered into tournaments from these two commanders. And the deck lists that you're looking at are actually quite different from each other. As you have Sans Green color identity, you can build it quite differently. For example, here we have an Adnos build with a very low seams count, very typical blue farm style. With one difference though, or something that is different from typical blue farm, we're playing Cloudstone Courier. You see, with Dockside Extortionist and Cloudstone Courier and something like Will the Wise, you can make, if you're generating enough treasures, 5 to the total with the Dockside ETB, you go infinite treasures, but also here in this case infinite clues, also infinite clues for your opponents, but your opponents won't have infinite mana, you will. So from here you can draw out your entire deck, cast all the spells in your deck, including Fastest Oracle or whatever you need to actually win the game. Some of the deck lists have also included Goblin Welder and Goblin Engineer, because these two creatures, or well actually to be fair, Goblin Engineer can tutor for Cloudstone Courier and Defense Grid, put it into the graveyard and then swap them. As you can swap positions of token clues with actual cards in your graveyard, which is actually kinda cool. But then suddenly you have decks like this that is a little bit different. For example, here we have Adnos, let's begin with that. But then we have a very expensive Hullbreaker Horror in it. Because with Hullbreaker Horror you can easily generate infinite mana, but also infinite flickers or infinite returns for your own permanent, so to say. So if you have, for example, Sol Ring, Max Opal or something of the sort together with Hullbreaker Horror, you have infinite mana. And then adding Will the Wise, Mox Opal, you can sit there and flicker Will the Wise, and now once again you have infinite mana and infinite card draw. Also infinite card draw for clues for your opponents, but who cares? So from here you draw your deck and you win the game again. I gotta say, this is very brave though, playing Adnos and Hullbreaker Horror inside the same decklist. This decklist is not playing Goblin Welder or Goblin Engineer, but it is playing the Cloudstone Courier. And this is basically where Will the Wise is different from Tymna and Kraum. Tymna and Kraum is great, they have a huge card draw potential, but they only have a card draw potential. They don't have any synergy or any combo potential. Will the Wise is adding those Sans Green colors, but adding an outlet, an infinite mana outlet, similar to Thrasios. This means that you can play Baron Master Wizard together with Dockside Extortionist, which is also infinite treasures, but also infinite returns. So you can sit there and flicker Will the Wise after generating infinite treasures, and then basically draw out your entire deck. Also, if you don't have a Dockside, you can now use your clues to bounce things. Will is basically giving you fuel here. By the way, Will is actually fueling your Dockside, so if you cast Will and all of your three opponents actually generate a clue each that they can't sacrifice, if you follow up with a Dockside afterwards, then boom, Will was a ritual. You actually gained 1 treasure from him. Or you netted positive 1 mana, you gain 3 treasures. But there are more synergies with this. So Will the Wise and Braids, you can sit there and sacrifice your clues into Braids instead of paying 2 mana for them, and here forcing your opponents to sacrifice their artifacts, or you gain card draw. This can be added up with the great card Lofo, Corrupted Sheriff, really good. You can sacrifice his treasures into Braids. And you can take that one further step and add Mayhem Devil. And Mayhem Devil and Will is actually pretty okay, because you're giving your opponents clues, you're gaining clues yourselves. If your opponents are sacrificing their clues, Mayhem Devil trigger. When you sacrifice your clues, you will trigger. You can also add the entire package of Teferi, Displacer Kitten, and Mox Amber, Mox Opal basically. One or both, or neither, doesn't matter. From here you have infinite mana and infinite card draw. You can also play, or in this case you will also play, Dockside and Displacer Kitten. And this is similar to a Thrasius Dockside Displacer Kitten stuff. So you cast Dockside, you generate treasures, you cast Displacer Kitten, you cast a non-creature spell, you flicker Dockside, more treasures, and then you cast a spell, you flicker Will, now your opponents are gaining clues, which means that when you flicker your Dockside, you're gaining more treasures this time. Each time you're flickering Will, the clue count on your opponents increase. Maybe they could just take life too, which they're probably gonna do, but you flicker Will, they might gain some clues. You flicker Dockside, you then get treasures, you sacrifice the clues that you gain from Will, you draw cards, which means you can cast more non-creature spells from your hand, and you go through your entire deck in a stormy fashion. And now we get to a very important part of this video. Something a lot of you have been thinking from the beginning of this video is that Will is a group hug commander. Yeah, you're gonna give away clues to your opponents, but should the opponents really do that? Because if you have Dockside in your hand, and well, we're going to be tutoring for Dockside quite a lot, Will is actually really good. And group hugging your opponents with clues is actually really good here. And once your opponents actually knows this, they might not get the clue, unless they can actually crack it immediately, of course. But this means that Will is less of a group hug commander, just because of the fact of all of this. Because of that, you can actually increase the amount of Docksides you have inside your deck. So Phantasmal Image, Flesh Duplicate will become Docksides. You actually don't even need to have your Dockside, you can just copy one of your opponents. I mean, Dockside is very common, everyone is playing it, more or less, if they have the color identity of red, that is. Now in the beginning of the video I did say we weren't gonna be looking at some statistics because we don't have that much sample size on this commander pair. But we can look at the cards the commander pair is playing, the cards I've been showcasing so far, and see how they are performing in the entire spectrum of all the commanders that I have. Let me explain. So up there with the red arrow you see total decks 6,373 are the grand total of all decks that I have calculated for my data sample. Various commanders like Vinota, Godo, these commanders, Blue Farm, Atraxa, everything. Here you see 6 cards that are not in black and white. Here you have play all cards, so you have 907 decks that are playing all of these 6 cards together. So here we have Blue Farm, basically every single Grixis commander you can think of. You're looking at the entire, the core Grixis package, well, there are more to the core Grixis package, but these are very key ones. You see here in green text, win rate 25.33, so the total average win rate from all of those 907 decks are 25.33. Win rate without cards means that we have basically separated this entire collection into 2 groups. One group where we have all of these 6 cards, and one group where we don't have those 6 cards. So the group with these 6 cards are performing better, where the group without these 6 cards are performing a little bit worse. Also, we have these 3 cards up here, they are in black and white, they have been excluded. So when you were looking at these 6 cards, we are also excluding these 3 cards. So these 907 are when you're playing these 6 cards, Adnos, Demonic Consultation, Dockside, Tainted Pact, Fastest Oracle, and Will Breach, when you're not at the same time playing these 3 cards here. What I'm trying to showcase is that Will and Lucas, basically on the Grixis game plan, are already set for a good victory, because they are playing these cards, and that's a good choice. But now let's look at some of the other cards. So for example here, without excluding anything specific, we have 5 cards: Klauson Kuryu, Defense Grid, Dockside Extortionist, Goblin Engineer, and Goblin Welder. Mostly this is played in Mardu decks in general, because Mardu decks are looking for other options that they don't have when they don't include the Grixis color identity. So the sample size is a lot less, 58 decks only, but the win rate is still showing a positive thing. I did take a look at the Braids, Lofo and the Mayhem Devil. Now I want to point out something here. Result is not statistically significant. Similar to how I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we don't have enough sample size. Apparently, this is not a popular combination, but it's showing some really good potential, like 27.27 win rate from 16 tournament entries so far, mostly from this commander pair, I would like to point out. But it seems to be doing kinda okay. It is definitely worth a consideration. This, on the other hand, isn't showcasing a great promise. Dockside Extortionist, Flesh Duplicate and Phantasmal Image, I did showcase those before, the triple Dockside basically. Now, Flesh Duplicate is kinda new, so the sample size isn't that great yet. But the verdict could be that you probably shouldn't play Flesh Duplicate, maybe just play Phantasmal Image, but once again I would like to point out that statistics is not everything. It is very hard to sit here and say that this is what you should do. We need more sample size, and player experience and the metagame and different pot compositions have an impact as well. So once again, with this commander pair, you're getting a very interesting color combination that unlocks a lot of different possibilities. You get access to a lot of really good strong cards individually on their own that can stand out, but will is opening the deck a little bit more, giving you more synergy options. Cloudstone Curio, Mayhem Devil, other cards just become very good. Like, you're getting access to more combos, and that could be a good thing. So suddenly you have access to all the great combos and cards Blue Flarm normally plays, but you get access to more options as well. And here's an important thing to mention. Sometimes it's better to just have a commander at the ready as an outlet from the command zone. That's usually how Thrasios operates. You don't normally cast him, okay, sometimes you do, but you don't always also activate him. Tymna Kraum are only being used when you don't have anything better to do. So having Will the Wise increasing potential for your deck just improves the 99 a little bit more, as you have him in access in the command zone if your intent is never to actually cast him. In any case guys, hope you enjoyed the video and that you learned something new. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.